Entering the ground with the weight, abdomen released, centralizing our attention, our breath, our energy. Each out breath is a releasing breath. Just take a moment to scan your skeletal structure, see if you can optimize that, verticalize it, and give all the weight over to that skeletal structure. Imagine that your muscles are just hanging off those bones. And our job is simply to align those bones. Bone on top of bone, vertical, and let everything hang from the bones, and then the combined weight of all that enters into the ground. Breathing in, of course, the belly expands, breathing out, sinking back in, releasing tensions on each out breath. And in a moment, just let your hands drop and let them continue to swing slightly in front of the body with momentum and gravity. So use very little of your own stuff. Just let those arms just swing released. And just kind of enjoying that freewheeling swing, that free fall. Let those shoulders get pulled down, let the shoulder joints open and release. Check in with the abdomen, see if you can release some more tension in the solar plexus area. Hang the tailbone and just let those arms go. Each moment of these arm swings and releasing a bit more tension, body opens and softens. So these arm swings, of which we have quite a few different variations of course, wonderful for releasing tension. But really, it's cultivating the body for our Tai Chi. It's creating the Tai Chi body. So that when we do Tai Chi, there could be more chi flow through the entire body, and the body becomes a better servant for the mind. So these very simple and enjoyable arm swings are hugely important for creating the Tai Chi body. Now, each time you breathe in, you sink down for 3 swings. Breathe out, you rise up for 3 swings. So go at your own breathing pace. Of course, you want to make sure those knees bend directly over the feet. Hang the tailbone, spine is long. Remember the back of the neck as well. You want that long, flat. So when we talk about the back of the neck being straight, lower back being straight, we don't really want the spine to be ramrod straight or literally completely straight. That wouldn't really be natural. But we do want to take the sway out of it to a large degree. So the back of the neck should be almost straight, lower back should be almost straight. So you can either press back towards the back of the neck, press the lower back back, or drop the chin a little bit, drop the tailbone. Many different ways to physically, mechanically lengthen that spine and take a large degree of the curvature out. Again, let those shoulders be pulled down. Let your weight enter the ground deep below you. And then next time you come up, just hang out there, stay up, and let the arms gradually subside. And just enjoy watching and feeling gravity eventually pull those arms straight down into complete stillness as you hang the spine and release the belly. Bring the hands to the Dantian, just below the navel. Use the hands, the weight, the hands as an anchor for the mind. And from here down, from this place down, let all the weight exit into the ground. Knees repulsed away a little bit, so they're directly over the feet. Each out breath is a releasing breath. Let the arms flow forward, and we'll do a few arm drops. So as you know, we want the arms going more forward than up, and then those strings are snipped. And see how much you can let those arms just free fall. So go at your own timing, aware of the weight and heaviness of the arms on the way up, and cutting of the strings. So exploring how much can you let go, how much can you release. Each time is a gentle challenge. Can you do less? Can you not do the drop? Not doing the drop, just let them go completely. Watch your breathing, make sure you're not tightening the breath as you concentrate. Release the abdomen. Again, let those shoulder joints open and extend as the arms flow forward. Then a free fall. Each time is an opportunity to let go. How completely can you do that? Then when you're ready, out to the sides. Again, heavy, heavy, heavy. And when you're ready, complete release. Again, the arms are more going out to the sides rather than just up. You want those elbows a little bit bent, unlocked all the time. It's like a crane is needed to lift those heavy arms. And then you cut the cables. Continuous breathing. And then we'll do one turn. So as I release the arms, I turn once one way, out to the sides, and then the drop. And then of course, next time I'm going to turn the hips the other way. I release the arms, I turn once, come back, let the arms drop. So just one turn to start with. We're gradually coaxing our mind and body to let go and release. Release, turn, back to front, complete drop. Let those shoulder joints open and release. Abdomen as well. Hang the tailbone, chin is down a little bit. Okay, now we're going to turn once to each side. So I turn, and then release. So one to each side, or a total of 2 turns. You go at your own timing. Continually scanning the body, see what you can release. Does the abdomen need to release a bit more? Have we tightened up there? Shoulders, tailbone, everything's hanging vertically. Arms, the muscles just hanging off the bones. Let those arm muscles just hang like warm rubber. Okay, and then we'll do 2 turns to each side for a total of 4 turns. Notice any pulling in or tightness in the shoulders. See if you can release that. Continuing to let the weight free fall through the legs and feet into the ground. So we're continually scanning the body, making micro adjustments. Now 3 turns to each side for a total of 6 turns before you drop the arms. And when you drop those arms, take a moment, 2 or 3 or 4 seconds, just let those arms hang, noticing and appreciating the sensation of gravity and the tingling in the arms and hands. So after you finish those 6 turns and you drop again, pause for a moment to absorb and receive and enjoy the sensations of gravity and hanging and released. And then notice and enjoy what's happened when you drop those arms. So again, expanding out to the sides. If we think up, we're going to be pulling in and pulling up and tensing, contracting, expanding out to the sides, arms get longer out to the sides, shoulder joints literally expand open, out to the sides rather than up. And the next time, just end up hanging the arms. We'll pause after the next cycle of 6 turns. And just hang out. Your arms maybe feel much longer. The shoulder joints might feel literally released and opened. Hang out, breath released. Legs, feet into the ground. Hang out, notice and feel the body, tingling, vibration. Okay, one hand in front, back your hand in the lower back. And we want to train full expansion. So to help us get that, we're going to isolate it forward and back. So breathing in, expanding, of course, the abdomen expands forward as usual, but we want to also consciously expand the lower back as we feel the abdomen. So breathing in, the lower back expands backward just as much as the abdomen expands forward. Breathing out is releasing everything, comes back in, retraces back towards center point in the middle of the torso. So you can really emphasize the lower back, expanding back, filling out that sway, filling out that curve, the back becoming straight as you expand with the in-breath. Breathe out, abdomen and lower back retrace back a little bit. So just like the arm drops were a release, when you breathe out, let the abdomen and lower back release back towards the center point. The same sort of just free fall release. Expanding, expanding, release as you breathe out. See if you can really emphasize, even exaggerate breathing into the lower back, expanding it back as you breathe in, releasing, retracing as you breathe out. Good. Now, same sort of idea, to isolate, to emphasize, to train the entire torso to release and open. We want to now focus on expanding sideways on the in-breath. So hands here at the sides, you're feeling between the hips and the ribs. Breathe in and try to isolate the movement to a sideways expansion. Breathe out, releasing back. You breathe in, see if you can push your hands out a little bit. So right now we're exaggerating, emphasizing, isolating the expansion laterally, sideways, pushing those arms out on the in-breath. Make sure you have a nice released retracing back, just like the arms dropping, just releasing back on the out breath. Typically, this is the hardest direction to isolate. Muscles are a bit frozen, a bit tight. So again, this is opening up all the muscles deep in the core. It's stimulating, massaging the internal organs, and it's freeing up the stuck chi deep, deep in the core, opening up those energy blockages, frozen energy deep, deep in the core. Now, all sides at once, all directions. So breathing in, expanding forward, expanding back, expanding laterally, 360 degrees, just like a tire tube around your waist. Breathe in, the entire tire tube expands all directions. And just as you would deflate a tire tube, the tire tube would shrink in all directions back towards the center point. Really emphasize the release, emphasize the out breath and releasing, letting go as you exhale. Good. Now, just breathing comfortably. I'm going to go over a new arm swing and arm drop. So a piece at a time. The arms are going to lightly come up to the chest. Let's just do this part a few times. This is the first segment. Just the fingertips just lightly touching the upper chest, just below the clavicle. And try to use very little muscle action, just letting those arms swing. Once you do the first one, you have momentum. So you just let that momentum take over and do the arm movement for you. So very lightly touching the upper chest with the fingertips, let those arms go, free swing, just released. As you hang out from the string, weight entering the ground, belly released. Once in a while, you might want to take a really deep breath in and out. Let those elbow joints become free and open hinges. Just relax and open hinges at the elbows. Okay, that's actually just the first part of this move. So you might want to watch this a few times. So once they drop, they're going to drop and just tap my hips on the way back. And then I rotate my arms so they tap my hips on the way forward. And then I rotate my arms again, palm up, to rest at the hip or at the quad. So it looks like this. Tap, swing, swing. Tap, swinging back, backs of the hands, just brush past your hips. Your hands brush past your hips again, and then to come to a complete rest at the quad, the hips. So I want to pause here to really enjoy that heaviness, that complete releasedness, complete resting here. So tap, swing, swing, rest. Tap, swing, swing, rest. Tap, swing, swing, rest. It'll take a few times to kind of settle into this. But as soon as you're able, try to notice your shoulders. Maybe you're doing stuff with your shoulders. Maybe you're pulling up or in a little bit. Let the swing low and released, low and released, low and released. Swing low, not coming up. It's a normal thing to come up, kind of controlling those arms, especially because you're tapping or hitting very lightly. Try to let those arms be long as they come through. So tap, swing, swing, tap. Tap, swing, swing, tap, swing, swing. Again, pass the hands, pass the hips. The hips again. So I think that might be Susan. Susan, we have some background noise coming in.
Yeah.
That's yeah, and just release those arms. Okay, now the next part of this move. Leave the arms for now. Let's just have the arms resting at the dantian. The next segment is and you sink a little bit. Breathing in a very, very slight, maybe just a couple inches. Breathe out. Now, the quality and feeling we want is as you breathe in, you're being pulled down towards the ground. The in-breath is sort of like a suction, right? A suction. So breathing in pulls you towards the ground, sucking the body down towards the ground. Breathing out is the opposite action, pushing off the ground. So focus here at the dantian. Breathing in, have a sense that's pulling you into the ground. You're bending your knees, tailbones being pulled towards the ground. Breathe out, pressing your feet into the ground, pushing you up. On that. So this is a feeling aspect. Breathing in, it's like magnetically pulling you towards the ground. Breathing out, it's like magnetically repulsing you up away from the ground. So let's just get that timing and quality before we bring the rest of the movement together. Try that a few more times. Let me know if you have any questions with that. Okay, so now we're ready to bring the arm movement into that. We're doing that arm swing of tap, tap, rest as we breathe in and sink towards the ground or being pulled into the ground. Okay, so this is breathing in and then arms just rest there as you breathe out, repulsed up away from the ground. Push your feet into the ground, pushing you up. So breathing in is tap, swing, swing, rest. Breathe out, take your time to rise back up. So you don't have to match my pace. Breathe in, tap, sink. Breathe out slowly, pushing into the ground, rising up, repulse from the ground. So breathing in as the arm swings, breathing out, resting the hands at the front of the hips, slowly rising. See how much you can release. See how natural you can be with those arm swings. Expanding your body, notice the alignment of your neck. And you straighten that a bit and you push the neck back out a little bit, the chin drop down a little bit. Okay, then we're ready for the final phase of this movement. All we're going to do is when we breathe out and rise, the arms will flow out in front into the standing tree position. Breathing in, sinking. Rising up, arms, not so much up. That's a problem, right? If we come up, flowing out in front As you breathe out. Breathing in, tap, swing, swing, rest. Breathe out, arms expand out in front of you. Breathing in, breathing out. Try not to use your arm or shoulder muscles. You're just expanding out, big bubble out here. Breathing out, pressing into the ground, pushing you up. Pushing you up also pushes the arms out in front of you, pushes the arms way out in front of you. So as you breathe out, press into the ground to come up, your shoulder joints are opening, arms getting longer. So you're not lifting your arms up so much as they're being propelled out by the out breath and the pushing into the ground. The same thing that pushes your body up, pushes your arms way out in that generous shape. Okay, and once you come up, we'll hold this position here, the standing post or standing tree position. Continue to let your energy expand. Breathe normally. Shoulder joints open, arms nicely rounded. We're going to move from the standing tree position to the Buddha belly. But what I want you to do is go from here to the Buddha belly position purely and only because you're opening the shoulder joints and lengthening the arms. So I go from here to Buddha belly by process of lengthening my arms or opening my joints, not just moving my arms. Then whenever you want, I do that by lengthening, opening and lengthening the arms. So the movement is a process of lengthening and opening, not moving. So lengthen the arms, and that drives the arms into movement to the next position. Hang out there, breathe there for a few breaths, hang the spine, open the shoulder joints. When you move to the next position, do that by imagining and feeling the arms are growing, lengthening, stretching, shoulder joints opening, and that opening, stretching is what moves the arms into the next position. So in a sense, the arms only get longer and longer and longer. And that lengthening is what drives the arm movement. Hang the spine, weight enters the ground, release the belly. So you're not opening the shoulder joints or lengthening your arms with your muscles, because that just creates tension. You're doing it just with your intention. You're doing it with your focused intention, your feeling. I imagine, feel, intend that my arms grow longer, lengthen. I intend for my shoulder joints to release. You want the space in the shoulder joints to increase, but not by physically trying to stretch and push, just by having that intention to release and expand the shoulder joints. And then the Buddha belly. Letting those arms continue to stay long and open. Breathing in is a slight expansion of the arms out, a bigger bubble. Breathing out, settles back a little bit. Breathing in, the body expands. You can even rise up a little bit. Breathe out, you settle back, bend the knees a tiny bit, Arms fall back a little bit, but you may notice a pressure between the arms and between the hands and the body. Breathing in is expanding. The shoulder joints are opened. Breathing out, the arms settle back. Breathing in, the shape is expanding even bigger. Breathing out, a little retracement, a little settling back from the breath. Let those feet enter the ground, releasing the abdomen. Breathing in, abdomen expands. Remember, that's all directions through the torso, that expansion as you breathe in. And as you breathe in and expand the torso, that pushes or buoys the arms out. Breathing out as the abdomen settles back, torso settles back in towards the center point. It draws the arms in a little bit with it. And then very, 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 very gradually, as you breathe normally, comfortably, press the hands in towards the dantian as you breathe comfortably. Very, very slowly. Imagine and feel that you're packing the energy into the dantian or into the core. Directing and packing the energy deep into the core. Very gradual. Shoulders are still sitting, elbow joints are still open and released. Tailbone hanging. Weight in the ground. Breathe and release. Eventually your hands will reach the abdomen and rest there. Mind and breath resting in the bowl of the hips. Each out breath is a releasing breath. Let the arms hang gently at the sides. Become very conscious of your spine. Breathe. Now, specifically become conscious of your uppermost vertebrae. Very top of the spine. The top vertebrae is called the atlas vertebrae. Just like Atlas holds up the earth, the atlas vertebrae is directly under the skull. So becoming very aware of that uppermost vertebrae as you hang out. Now become aware of the base of your skull. Become aware of the bone, the base of the skull, just above the atlas vertebrae. Aware of the base of the skull, just above the atlas vertebrae as you breathe into the belly. Now become conscious of that space between the skull and the atlas vertebrae. There's a little bit of space in there. Space between the uppermost vertebrae and the bottom base of the skull. A little bit of space there. So that's where we're going to focus our attention and hang from there. As you know, a very common saying in Tai Chi, the head is suspended from above. So imagine a string suspending the head completely. You don't have to worry about holding up the head at all. The head is suspended from above. And then let the spine from the atlas vertebrae just dangle. Dangle long and free with gravity. You don't have to hold up the head. The head is suspended from above. Become aware of the space between the base of the skull and the uppermost vertebrae. And let the spine hang from that space. From that space just under the skull, let the spine, the entire length of the spine, dangle long from there. And notice what that does for the spine, for the posture, for the feeling. Now, you may have to physically adjust your head a little bit so that your chin is slightly down. You can't really hang the spine or have space between the skull and the vertebrae if your head is tilted back a tiny, tiny bit. So the chin is down or in a little bit. Chin is down or in a little bit, or the back crown of the head is pointed up to the sky. Not the crown of the head, the back crown of the head is pointed towards the sky. That's the angle and shape that we need for the spine to hang freely. So the back crown of the head points up to the sky. It's suspended from there. The head is suspended from that point. Become aware of the space between the skull and the atlas vertebrae. Hang the entire length of the spine from that space. Make sure your knees are bent a little bit, and we're going to go into some stationary cloud hands. Hang out, breathe. The main focus being that you're hanging the spine from that uppermost vertebrae or from the space just above that vertebrae. So again, the actual movement and shape of the movement, it's not our major concern right now. We're just going through something like cloud hands as we hang that spine, dangle it completely. Remember those arm drops and the feeling of those arms just falling completely, freely, and utterly released and relaxed. No forcing, nor no doing. Arms just drop with gravity and drop completely freely. And apply that feeling to your spine. So your spine is truly hanging from that space just below the skull of the head, dangling long, truly hanging with gravity. You need to remind yourself to release the abdomen from time to time. It'll tend to tighten up as you focus and concentrate. Let those shoulders sit, let the elbows roll forward, and dwell in that space between the skull and the atlas vertebrae as you turn and flow in cloud hands. Release the abdomen. If you're really hanging and dangling that spine, your weight and your feet will enter the ground. And now some stationary repulse monkeys. The main focus being dangling that spine, free falling that spine from under the skull. Bend those knees, release the abdomen. Don't worry too much about the shape of the movement. You're simply dangling that spine vertically as you turn and swim the arms. See if you can let those arms have a remnant of the feeling of the arm swings. So soft, released, relaxed, very, very soft. And allow that to contribute to the quality of the hanging spine. Let those shoulders sit. Good. Now, taking a bow stance, weights on the back, hold the ball. Take a moment to hang the spine again. Slowly going into parting horse's mane, coming back to hold the ball, shifting the weight. And then once you have gotten into parting horse's mane movement, come back to the main focus of dangling that spine from just below the skull. You might need to remind yourself to drop that chin ever so much. Again, if that chin is up a tiny bit, it contracts the back of the neck muscles and it impinges the vertebrae of the spine. So it's rotated. Chin is down slightly or in slightly. Background of the head is pointed towards the sky. Well, actually rotating into that position is not actually really dropping the chin. It actually makes the chin basically level with the ground, parallel to the ground. But it feels like it's dropping the chin because most people have the chin raised up a tiny bit. So it'll feel like, that's why we say drop the chin, when really that is leveling the chin parallel to the floor. And feel free to go to the other side. Take your time to focus on the main focus right now, which is dangling that spine. So before I go into parting horse's mane, I attempt to do that as best I can, space between the skull and uppermost vertebrae. And again, I want to lengthen or flatten that lower back so the spine is hanging better. And then take that into movement. So again, our main focus is not parting horse's mane. It is how well can I keep dangling that spine, opening the spine with gravity as I do movement. Notice when and where you tighten up when you do the movement, constricting that hanging quality of the spine. So releasing the abdomen is a big help. Dropping the tailbone or flattening the lower back is a huge help. Sitting the shoulders. Now let's take that into a few steps, like a room length or so. So take your time to set yourself up to do a room length, a parting horse's mane. Again, before you start, take your time to get that spine long and open. Hang the spine from that uppermost vertebrae. In fact, actually from just above that vertebrae, from that space between the skull and the uppermost vertebrae. Hang from there. Dwell in that space. Hang the spine from there as you go into movement. Notice how that changes your body. Notice how that adjusts your alignment. This is actually how we want to do the entire set. Breathe, release the abdomen. Main focus, dangling that spine from underneath the skull. Release the abdomen. Let the shoulders just sit on top of the uppermost rib. Try a few brush knees. This will tend to correct any leaning forward or back. It's one of the reasons why we're really isolating and focusing on dangling the spine. It's one of the reasons to correct our posture into good verticality. We might think we're vertical, but actually might be leaning. And when we're shifting weight back and standing into that leg, we might be leaning back ever so slightly. So we want to visualize and feel that the spine is dangling with gravity, and see and feel how that adjusts your posture, your shape, your alignment. Don't worry too much again about doing brush knees exactly right. Our main focus is how well can I hang and dangle the spine completely vertical as I am doing movement. Now, let's do some Repulse Monkeys. Take a moment. The main thing right now is hanging and dangling the spine. Of course, release that abdomen. Then attempt to keep that spine dangling as you go through the twisting, turning, stepping. You might notice some little cracks, little adjustments in the spine. So that's a very good thing, as you are releasing some of the tension and crookedness and misalignment. Because we're not forcing anything, we're not applying any force or pressure to change the spine, we're just using intention and awareness. Any little crack or little adjustment is coming back into better alignment. It's releasing a crookedness and a blockage and coming back to an openness, alignment, freedom, and release. Of course, it takes strength and stamina in the legs. You got to have the strength and stamina on the legs to truly hang out and to keep the spine dangling through all this time and all this movement. So if you don't have that strength, the body will be working to hold itself up, and you can never release and relax the body at all. So we need to develop that strength. So let's do some cloud hands, a couple of steps in both directions. So maybe I'll face this way. If you're not familiar with this, you can follow me. So we take 2 steps. That's 1. 2. Then we go back the other way. But first we have to wave the hands like clouds until they're set up in the opposite direction for that next step. And 2 this way. So if that's new for you, you might need to do a couple of repetitions to get into it, so the body knows it. So that was 2 steps. I wave hands. So I'm ready to go back the other way. Once you have a sense of the move, dangle that spine. Release the space between the skull and the atlas vertebrae. Release that space, open that space, dwell in that space. Hang and dangle the spine from that space. Okay, any comments or questions?
There was a really interesting opening for chi flow for me. It's a felt the chi tingle on the roof of my mouth while doing the practice.
Really?
It was really cool.
Interesting, interesting. So that's fantastic. So a strong opening of chi flow and in a very specific way in place for you. This might be difficult at first for anybody at first, because we're very specific with our attention and our awareness, and it's working with this mind-body connection. And so that's something that we develop over time, but it's really worthwhile getting to that place where you're more able to connect your body and send your intention to a specific place. For me, this really opens up my posture and really opens up my neck. Like it naturally, intuitively aligns my spine, especially of course the neck, and how my skull sits. And so it becomes self-correcting. When I put my awareness in that space and I hang the spine from there, it self-adjusts and self-corrects the angles of the spine and the head. And I feel that space in there, I feel it open, I feel that area release. And it tells me how much tension is habitually there. And so you literally release that tension, that specific place, and that allows, it's like releasing a rope ladder, right? If a rope ladder that's all curled up, and then you release it, we're releasing it from there, letting that rope ladder fall and hang with gravity. And it will literally, again, align your spine just like that rope is totally vertical with gravity. But you'll find, similar to what Sandra is saying, I find very specific release, not just physically, release of energy and stuckness. It's opened and released.
The other thing I found, Brad, is because my neck and shoulders are so tight, and you know, you're always telling me my shoulders need to come down. And because I have that little bit of curve, my neck and spine were doing exactly what you said. They're realigning, And I found that was actually creating some pressure points where my musculature isn't used to being in that position.
Oh, yes.
And I had to just be aware and careful of that. And I don't know if others felt any of that as well, but.
Right. You know what? That is an excellent observation, a very important statement, actually, because again, I'll mention what's happening with me. Exactly what you said. Because I mentioned that the habitual tension there, I feel that releasing, that causes me to become aware of some tightness or some dull aching in certain points around the base of the skull. And that dull aching is because of those, just as you said, because of those muscles now being coaxed into lengthening and opening, they're being stretched. When we're tight in habitual tension, everything is foreshortened, tightened, shortened. When we start to open any part of the body, like maybe just kind of standing, just releasing the shoulders down, for example, is a very, very common, simple example. Releasing the shoulders down, letting the shoulders sit, will often cause tension, even pain, even acute pain in the neck and or trapezius or shoulders, because the muscles are now hanging longer, they're now longer, or the shoulder girdle is falling away from the head. So those muscles that have been shortened after many years or decades of being tight and shortened, as that shoulder girdle hangs lower, hangs with gravity, those muscles are being tested, they're being stretched. They're now being used as they're supposed to be used. They're supposed to be hanging out and they're being stretched and open. That can be uncomfortable and cause some discomfort. So when I do this, I feel little pressure points, little tension points around the base of the skull and around the head. And that shows me the chronic tight places that were there that I didn't notice before because everything is tight and contracted. So as I open and release, those little pulls on certain parts of my skull I'm feeling. And that dull kind of ache, I know is a very positive thing. That makes sense. I know Sandra is verbalizing that quite well, so I know she is relating to what I'm saying. Anybody have any questions about that? And it's good, Sandra, that you asked if anyone else is feeling that, because it's important to know that those are normal, natural, and important things to go through, that there can be those little aches and discomforts. That's part of that process. Again, just like lowering those shoulders can cause some discomfort in the neck or shoulders. Any other comments or questions? Now, let's actually, because this is such an important, every part is important, obviously, but this is obviously very central, our spine and the base of our skull. And it's so central to everything we talk about in terms of our posture, our alignment. So let's just take a moment here and work with this a little bit more into normal movement. So let's just take a moment first to hang out, standing posture, with the main emphasis of, can I dangle the spine from the very top, allowing space between the atlas vertebrae and the base of the skull. Let's just get back into that. Breathe, breathe. There's going to be some tension that accumulates, especially when you're feeling some release and some challenges, some taxing on those shortened muscles. You'll tend to tighten up. So consciously release the abdomen and those other areas as best you can. What I'd like you to do, we've been doing Tai Chi movements. Let's just do simple walking around the room, very slowly and softly, Tai Chi speed. The purpose is I want to go into some normal everyday movement with this idea of dangling the spine from the uppermost vertebrae and actually becoming aware of the space between that vertebrae and the skull, and the spine from there, or dwelling in that space. We want to take this into everything that we do, not just for our Tai Chi class. And notice again what this is doing for other parts of your body, any little other tightnesses that are showing or releases, intuitive adjustments of your alignment. So just walking around the room a little bit. And if you're doing pretty well with that, if you're dangling that spine pretty well and keeping that space in there pretty well, see if you can walk a little swifter and notice when you lose it. Then either slow down again or just work with your intention to release that, hang that a little better. Check the angle of your skull or your jaw. Again, there's always a tendency to pull up a little bit. So back crown of the head points up, or again, the other way of saying it is the chin is slightly dropped or slightly in, just to get the skull straight and the jaw parallel to the ground. So you might need to remind yourself to do that as you walk around. And imagine and feel that you're literally dangling, hanging that spine totally freely from just under the skull. Release the abdomen. Of course, that takes stronger legs because the legs will be bent a little bit. Okay. Any comments or questions? Anybody else noticing what that's doing for you, whether in a pleasant way or in a way that's not necessarily pleasant? Some of the things that Sandra and I have mentioned, little aches, little pulls. Anybody else noticing anything that's affecting or anything that it's doing for you?
Yes, I notice it.
Excellent.
It's very tight across my shoulders.
Across the shoulder blades or what?
Yeah, like in here. It just feels like perhaps it's just a move that I don't do much. Maybe I'm pulling my shoulder blades back too much. I don't know.
So this is definitely articulating our body and opening and stretching our body in a way that we don't. In fact, we do the opposite. We're compressed, we're contracted, we're condensed. So you're going to feel a repercussion through your body in different areas as a result of that. Again, you might notice that your solar plexus and breath tightens because it's kind of bracing against that stretching and opening. Those are all normal things and things that we need to work through. Let's do a mini set with the entire focus being just dangling that spine. Again, like a rope ladder. Dangling like a rope ladder. So hopefully you have the leg strength and stamina. And again, if you don't, that's why we have to do the Toyus and Donyus and do Tai Chi in a little lower stance. We got to, none of these things we can do, certainly can't do for any length of time if we don't have that strong base. I can't dangle the spine, open this up if I'm standing up. It won't happen. This can only release when I have a base I can totally trust and rely on over a period of time. I need to be able to have the strength and stamina. So as best we can, let's do a mini set, just dangling that spine. Here we go. Let's just come back to the Dan-Chin for a moment. Breathe, hang the spine, drop the chin a little bit, back crown of the head points up to the sky. Dwell in this space just underneath the skull. Let the entire spine just hang freely from there. Send the mind forward for commencement. As the arms drop, hang that spine even more. Don't worry about getting the moves exactly right. You're just hanging the spine as you go through different movements. Notice when you lose the hangingness, especially when you maybe stand up on one leg and step, maybe you contract, get tight through the whole spine or the lower back, the back of the neck. So notice when you lose it. It's really good when you notice those things. As best you can, dangle that spine. Today, our main, even more specific focus is not just dangling the spine, because we've talked about that many, many, many times. Tonight, it's even more specific than that. It's that space between the uppermost vertebrae and the bottom of the skull. That's where we dwell. That's where we hang the spine from. So that's very specific. Breathe. Enjoy the mini set through the process of hanging and dangling the spine from underneath the skull. Breathe. Release those shoulder joints. Let those arms be soft like they were in the arm drops. Let the spine be what the arms are doing in the arm drops. Just like we asked, can we allow those arms to drop more freely? Can I allow the spine to dangle more freely? Can I allow the spine to hang more purely? And can I do it from the space between the skull and this vertebrae? And notice what that does for the rest of the body. Release the abdomen and breathe. Dangle straight down. Dangle vertically. Main priority is just dangling that spine vertically. And as you finish, really emphasizing hanging, dangling from underneath the skull. Once you've allowed the arms to drop, take another moment to really allow that space between the atlas vertebrae and the base of the skull, allow that space to increase. Allow that space to open. Allow the spine to hang even lower from there. That space increases. Back crown of the head points up. The spine dangles from underneath the skull. Hands resting at the dantian. Letting the breath settle in the core, the center of the body as you dangle the spine long. Weight into the feet, into the ground. Shoulders sitting way below the ears. The shoulders have dropped way below the ears as the tailbone enters the ground. Take a deep breath in through the nose. As you breathe out of the mouth, release the hands, let them swing naturally and gradually, breathing normally, comfortably, and just watch how he slowly, gently brings the arms and hands to center stillness without rushing it, without making it, observing that process, feeling the arms forward right through the feet. Breath in, long breath out, and shift the weight and rock up. Okay. Okay. So, as best you can, take this into the rest of your evening. Notice when